Hey everybody, it's week 18. This is Friday with Adrian already did his awesome video, and this is Kage and his lackluster video. Um, yeah, tough act to follow, but I'm just gonna dive right in, I guess. I know last week, sorry, I had to adjust. I know last week we talked about losing friends, and I really didn't have much to say on the subject, but um, I feel like I want to touch a little more on that this week. Um, when I came out, um, my mother was my biggest support system, besides my wife, obviously. She never questioned why, she never questioned how, she only questioned when. And I say when because she basically, had said that, when I'm ready is when things will happen. And I kind of firmly believe that. Okay, so I'll give you my coming out story to my parents. I know Oliver kind of did a coming out video because he didn't get to talk about it on the channel, and neither did I. So I guess maybe that's what I'll do. Okay, so my mother, how to describe her? Imagine, if you're a Harry Potter fan, imagine Molly Weasley, and that's my mom. Um, so, and she passed away a couple years ago. But anyway, so I had been living basically stealth for 2 years prior to coming out to my parents. Um, I just wasn't comfortable. I didn't know how to tell them, so I didn't. Um, Everyone at work used masculine pronouns. They called me Cage, so it was very tough to separate my work life and my home life. Because, like I said, I lived with them, so it was awkward. When I finally was trying to build up the courage to come out to them, was when I had started therapy and I was getting close to getting my letter for T, and I thought, what a better way to not spring this on them than to inform them before starting medical intervention. Sounded like a good enough idea. So basically, I was like, okay, fine. So I was having these recurring dreams for about 6 months in which my mother would say something along the lines of me being a girl or something like that, and I would wake up in a cold sweat screaming, I'm a boy. And finally, it got to the point where I was waking up like ready to scream that, and I was like, okay, look, I just need to do it. So I invited my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, but I invited Selena over for dinner, and I invited my friend Jake over for dinner, and my mom made spaghetti, and we're all sitting at the table, and we've just gotten our plates, and we're, chit chatting a little, and I finally decide this is the moment. So I look over at Selena and I look over at Jake, and finally I just threw Jake under the fucking bus. I was like, so mom, you know how Jake is trans? And my mom was just like, mm-hmm. Like, go on. And I was like, well, I am too. And I just remember saying it that way. And Jake was like, he was like in the middle of eating, and he was like suddenly his food was like really, really intense. And I don't blame him for that. It makes the story all the better. Um, and then my mom, without missing a beat, was like scooping up her spaghetti on her fork and took a bite and thought about it for a second. And I'm thinking, oh my god, she's totally concocting like reasons why I shouldn't do this, reasons why I should leave, reasons why I'm disowned. I don't know why I ever would have thought that, but it beyond the point. So she looks up and she says, how are you going to get the money for that? And I said, I guess I'll have to work for it. And she just said, that's the right answer. And that reaction is, looking back, is so my mom that I can't believe I ever would have thought anything other. My mom was always accepting and always collecting our friends who didn't have family. So there's that. Um, but fast forward to a couple years, and my mom passed away. And I went to, long story short, I'm adopted. So I went to my birth mother's house to tell her because I didn't know if she knew. And I felt it was important to tell her because, Anyway, so I get there and my birth mother was like trying to be all friends and, sweet and whatnot, and my siblings too. And, a little bit later, I start hearing, that she's like, talking about me behind my back around town and, making comments like my daughter has a beard and stuff like that. And it's just like, well, first off, I'm not your daughter. Second, I'm someone else's son. And third, why is it any of your fucking business? She knew I was transitioning, so it's not like it was a huge shock that this was going to happen at some point. Um, but I struggled for a very long time with whether or not to keep in contact. And so I friended my sisters on Facebook and was trying to reach out to them and be like, hey, let's get to know each other again, And received just a really nasty email from one of my sisters, and I decided that I didn't need to take that abuse anymore. So I cut them out, and I've never been happier. But I mean, sometimes I think about it. So here is something I do when I have a problem like that, and I've cut the person out. I like to write letters and not send them. Um, it's a cathartic thing. It makes me feel better, and it's in no way passive aggressive. It's just all my feelings right out there. Um, so I wrote them this letter. It's called "To Those Who No Longer Care." Sometimes I remember how we said we'd never not be there. I realize now that I haven't been, and I can't make enough excuses to cover it. But it does go both ways. Blood is blood. The family that I've built around these hollow bones has been far more supportive than I think you could ever be by any stretch of the imagination. That's not to say that I still don't love you, that I still don't think about you every day, but something says that you don't love me anymore. Something deep in my very core, and it makes my heart hurt. Every time I see your faces, smiling, without me, I die a little bit more. But I push on because I know that somewhere deeply hidden inside of you, I hang on to the thin hope that you just might miss me too. And this is my solemn wish, that you still do. I guess I'm more upset. I'm more upset that it affects me on such a deep level than I am that they kind of forced my hand. I really thought I was stronger than that, and I don't like feeling vulnerable. I really don't think anybody does. But I think it's important to recognize when we feel this way and to take action, whether it's a passive action like writing a letter that you're never going to send, or actual confrontation. Um, it's important for us to recognize those feelings and to do something about them instead of bottling them up. Some sort of release. So that's my release. Um, I mean, I guess I feel better about the situation now because it's in the past, but um, I know that it still, is in the back of my mind. It probably always will be, but I've found things to fill the spaces. I've found things to make me feel better. So there's that. So if you're ever feeling lost or alone or hurt and just wounded, I would say it's good to find a support system. Find a friend, talk to somebody, start a blog, start a journal, write, draw, be creative, act in a play, sing a song, dance like nobody's watching. Anything that makes you feel more human. Um, that being said, I guess that's all I have for today, and I'm sorry that my video was kind of a downer, um, but it is what it is. So check out all the other videos for this week if you haven't already. We've got some really great stuff on this channel, and I'm so glad to be part of it. If you have any questions or want us to answer a question, you can contact Zayden or Adrian on Facebook. So there's that. So that being said, I'm going to say goodbye, and we'll be announcing our next week topic for week 19 pretty soon. So stay tuned to check that out. This was Fridays with Kage on the Transgender Project.